81 BMW M Motorsport M3 Touring. Conor Di Filippi taking that car over, and it returns to its more regular position of 6th place. Laurens Vanthoor in the number 24 car. That car, according to the Lion Speed information stream, was carrying a little bit of damage, squeal of tyre, because one of the SP10 cars, BMW, is damaged as well. That sounded like it was understeering through Arenberg, and it's certainly missing or has a heavily damaged front left corner, headlight cracked, and it worked its way through Arenberg at still reasonable speed, but I'm not sure that all of the grip was there. Let me just get your latest on car 24. So yes, this was actually about 6 o'clock this morning. Oh, it went in the barrier, did it, the BMW, on Hatzenbach, when it was side by side with a Porsche. So that's what's taken a fair chunk out of the bonnet and the top of the front left wheel arch. But yes, about 6 o'clock this morning, the 24 Porsche was needing some tender loving care to repair slight damage, but nothing major, and they have managed to maintain their pitting every 8 laps since. Laurens Vanthoor is now in 7th place in the 24 Lion Speed GP. Still that little bit of moisture floating around on the approach to Bergwerk, as Maro Engel, the second-placed AMG, has to go nice and tight to that high curb, and that's compromised his exit now along this crucial uphill climb through Klostertal and Kesselshed. Joe Bradley's back with us.
Percentage-wise, weather forecast, we're at the height of the percentage chance of rain here, so the rain's not going to disappear quite yet, but it is going to start petering out as we get towards midday. We're going to see the track evolve back with these drivers. We're going to see the track drying. We're going to see them having a more consistent track condition to race to the flag with, and I think, to be honest, in my opinion, I think the weather has kind of spoiled this race. It took out a lot of the protagonists who were in contention for the overall win. The one that comes to mind firstly, of course, is Grello. I know he went off on oil, but I think it was exacerbated by the fact that the oil was on a wet track, which spreads the oil. You can see the oil line on a dry track, right, and you stay off it. You couldn't tell.
So the oil and water mix.
Yeah, well, you just can't see it as well. You can't see where it is.
It dilutes it.
When you're on a dry track, you can see a trail of liquid. When you're on a wet track, the whole track's liquid, so he couldn't see. So he might have stood a better chance. And I just think, you know, that those changeable, that crazy first 6 hours, like I said, it was like a Mario Kart event, wasn't it? It was crazy. We had cars flying off left, right and centre, just brought about by the weather. And sometimes the weather can make a race. This one has been kind of spoilt by it.
One that wasn't weather related, and it was a strange one, was Alexander Sims into the back of, was it Jesse Krohn in the KCMG Mercedes on a restart or coming out of a Code 60?
Well, we're due to find out about that, because I think we've got David Pittard coming in to join us, fellow driver with Jesse Krohn, who didn't really get much of a go in the race, but it was yes, there was a confusion. We haven't had the full clarity on it, but had the slow zone been cleared or whatever, who waved the green flag? But certainly we will find out a bit more. But again, that took out 2 of the front-running cars. Bear in mind that number 16 Audi had qualified 3rd. The number 47 Mercedes for KCMG was right up there as well. But these things can happen. But again, lots of penalties still coming through. By and large, though, the front-running cars have stayed clear. Hey, maybe that's why the front-running cars, Jones, answer your own questions. But certainly for the speed of sorting through all the penalties, the race stewards have an awful lot to consider. We get sort of thunderbursts of them when they suddenly get released. Now, staying out of the way is one thing. Staying off the track to stay out of the way is what the Dacia Logan just managed to do, but better safe than sorry. But then when someone goes off the track, of course, that brings dirt and other muck back onto the playing surface. But I don't know if that was just a simple mistake. Well, or something that just was untoward.
Ice Curver has the name of that because of very much lack of traction, lack of grip, and yes, slithering its way off the road and bringing a bit more muck onto it, the Dacia Logan.
I talked about that Dacia Logan, and it looks like a road car, looks like a street car from 10 metres. Look at the camber on the front of that car. Look at how engineered that suspension and running gear is. You know, very expensive damper systems on there. Maybe even 15,000 euros a corner, those dampers, which I saw. That's how much engineering's gone into that. So it might,
because it's been developed over years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So they brought it here as more standard than it is. But actually, don't be fooled. Yes, it looks like a road-going a street version of a Dacia Logan, but you take the body panels off and you'll realise, oh, hang on a minute, this is a purebred racing car and it's built for the ring. A fun project, yes, but they are totally invested in a race finish here, and as high up as possible.
Yeah, they're running 6th in the SB3T class, 116th overall, 2 laps behind the car they're chasing, which is the number 63 HWA project car, the Evo R. So you couldn't have 2 cars that were any more different than those 2, but that's the essence, and it always has been, of the Nürburgring 24 Hours. It started in 1970. This is the 54th running. We've had some wet ones, some dry ones, some hot ones, and of course the one a couple of years ago with all the mist. But the Dacia is something that's very much part of the party. And what I like is the fact it's a relatively contemporary car, but of course for years we had Volker Strycek with that Opel Manta that was firmly rooted in the late 1980s. And you know, we have a lot of historic races and it's now in those instead. But the Dacia Logan, far more contemporary and far more developed in so many ways.
Verstappen continues to lead in a kind of metronomic way. I'm pretty sure not getting in any way or shape complacent with how he goes about lapping this traffic. The traffic keeps you awake, something he's not been used to in his career of a single-seater driver in the various single-seater formulas, even from karting all the way through to Formula One. Mixed class racing is a different way of going about racing, and we know how much he loves this challenge, arguably the most challenging motorsport event in the world of motorsport. And he continues to pick his way through. Now he's getting towards the final stages of what is a double stint here, and I'm going to ask the question, what's our opinion on whether with 4 hours to go he's going to be back in the car for the end, maybe as a kind of a showcase finish, or is he going to leave it to his more experienced GT teammates?
It's a hard call.
It would be very nice to have him back in the car because of the photographs that are taken as the car potentially wins the race, but I don't know whether Winward, are they going to be swayed by the value in the publicity and the press releases, or do they just want to continue the rotation and stick to what they know?
That's what I mean. That's why
do it differently. Have him on the pit wall cheering a co-driver across the line. Then you've got his face, the checkered flag, all that celebration. That's another thing, of course, he can never do in Formula One. Of course, he's always in the car.
And that teamwork element
entirely
showing through. So there's a couple of media opportunities there, isn't there, Bruce?
I'll pop over and see them at coffee time.
Give them a call.
Yeah.
Give Russell a call. I've got an idea, Russell. Yeah. Two-edged sword this. In the car, massive media. Out of the car, on the pit wall, massive media. However, let's just add 4 hours of this race still to go. So we're ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's 11:11. So that'll mean 4 hours to go in a short moment or two, and Max Verstappen is on an in-lap, as is his teammate Maro Engel. This will tick off 130 laps here at the ring. Through, and not without contact, notably between the two Red Bull backed cars, the Lamborghini and the Mercedes, getting together, and also a much too eager start for Marco Mappelli in the Lamborghini that started on his opening stint when the car was very full of fuel. Great to have the insight recently from Philip Ellis, another AMG driver, to say when the cars are full of fuel and that tank at the back of the car can actually lift the front of these Mercedes. Something to watch for later on in the race for sure. A very violent off for the 75 Max Cruiser Racing Audi R8 LMS at Schwedenkreuz, one on the back of the KCMG Mercedes, and that would ruin the Scherer Sport PHX entry for 20 at all after it caught some oil that had been laid down by, ironically enough, another Porsche from one of the gearbox and the engine bay, and not long afterwards on the same oil patch, Arjun Maini, the time having to get off the throttle because of a backmarking BMW that semi-blocked his way. The BMW driver was doing nothing wrong as Connor De Filippi swept around the outside, and around the very next corner he would pick off the 80 Ravenel back Mercedes as well. Two Mercs in the space of about 5-12. Two very different Porsches being run out of the same awning, if you like, at Schnabel Engineering. One the Falcon car, one the Dunlop car, which is new for 2026. But sadly, that car now out of the race. And then fun and games down at Nürburgring at about the point where the sun was spectacularly setting yesterday evening. And still they came thundering their way down the hill and into the stones, bringing lots of gravel out onto the racetrack and causing a problem for some of the front runners as the RPM racing car with Tracy Crone at the wheel, meaning that Max had to get off the throttle, and Dennis Olsen underneath the rear wing of the Mattia Drudi Aston Martin, that aero wash lifting the front wheels entirely off the ground of the Ford Mustang. It has all been happening here at the 54th edition of the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. We're into 4 hours remaining, so this will be hour 21. And hearing that team orders have been applied at Winwood, as in, well, they're both pitted, as I rather suggested they might do at the end of lap 130. Did they switch positions as they came in, therefore? They are in the order of 3 and 80, suggesting they came in that order. Well, that was their order anyway, wasn't it? Max Verstappen, who will be getting out of the car, and Maro Engel will stay on board for a double. Turn your mic on, Joe.
Yeah, always best to turn yourself on. I think that's where the respective crews are positioned for those cars, the 3 towards pit out, the 80 behind. I just want to mention a comment that our mate Snowy made earlier on, and that reflection back on the that highlights reflection. Nürburgring will win a BAFTA for this race. It's featured so much drama and intrigue in this race that it will get the BAFTA for this one. Phenomenal.
Hold on, but Schwalben-Schwanz is fighting back. We've got a car off there, and a slow zone has been increased to a code 60, and so still things keep on happening. I'm going to throw a figure at you. 34 seconds was the gap between the 3 and 80 Winwood Mercedes when Max Verstappen came in. He's out of the car. He's going to change over teammate. Maro Engel has just done one stint to stay in. The traffic didn't work, wasn't very kind to Maro Engel on his out lap. He lost, I think it was 14 seconds. Since then he was checking, but you know, Verstappen is just relentless in his application of overtaking wherever possible as soon as possible, and his lap times have been astonishingly good. So that margin had been 13 seconds. After that first lap it was about 27 seconds, but it was 34 seconds. So just with each lap of that stint he was gaining another second or so, pulling clear, plus the bonus of that initial gift of the 14 seconds on their respective outlaps. But 3 and 80, will it be 80 ahead of 3 at the end of the race? At the moment, as we count down, it may well not be.
Recent comments from Fabian Schiller rather suggests for the moment that is not the case, because he says we've essentially frozen the situation for now to ensure we don't end up fighting each other. The goal for Mercedes is to win here again for the first time in 10 years. Remember, 2016 was the last time an AMG won in the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, when our earlier guest here in the Global Broadcast Centre, Adam Christodoulou, was part of a quartet that included Maro Engel, Manuel Metzger, as he was just burgeoning as the new name in Mercedes, and a certain Bernd Schneider in 2016.
And significantly, Verstappen stays in the car for a 3rd stint.
Oh, OK. I hadn't predicted that. And now, partly on the grass, is Maro Engel as he returns to the race. So this the outlap down into the Ravenol S.
So he hadn't even got to the first corner of his stint. He's on the grass, leaving the pit lane down to the first corner. Cannot afford to shed another fraction of a second. But that is the intensity these drivers are competing under.
So if Max is in for a 3rd stint in a row, that rather suggests he's not going to do the end of the race.
You'd think so.
I'm going to suggest. So Verstappen, this will be the in-lap at Flansgarten as 2 Porsches got together right in front of him. And the Cayman goes left and surely hits the wall. This is the approach to Stefan Beloff S and the Schwalben-Schwanz, but Max Verstappen was very nearly cleaned out by what has happened here between 2 Porsches. He read that situation perfectly as one of the SP9 cars went to the right-hand side of a Cayman, and I don't know which car is therefore off the road. Might have to revert to your tracker in a second, Joe, to fully identify who has been involved there. I'm sure it'll be on the ticker in due course as well, but my word, I hadn't realised it was such a harum-scarum in-lap for Max Verstappen, because I was describing what had happened in the previous 20 hours of this race. David Pittard joins us now from KCMG AMG, and You might be able to shed some light on an incident that I'm still trying to work my way through, frankly. It was many, many hours ago now, but it involved your car and Alexander Sims in the Shearer Sport PHX coming out of a Code 60, and it looked like one car just piling into the back of another. But, I mean, how did you see it?
Good morning, first of all, everyone.
Sorry, I've thrown you a very tricky question.
Yes.
Yes. Cheers, Johnny. Appreciate that.
All right, let's go back to basics. How are you?
Yeah. I'm far too well rested for this point in a 24 hours, which is a shame. Well, yeah, it is. The race hadn't even got started for us, which is a big shame. So, yeah, I don't want to be that negative guy, but yeah, I'm still not 100% sure what happened. There was some miscommunication where there was an acceleration and then a deceleration, and that message didn't get through to the other car, and yeah, there was contact, and both cars were out of the road.
Well, that's the thing. It was also a sort of self-inflicting penalty for the 16.
Yeah.
I would normally assess blame to the chasing car that has driven in the back of the other one, but I never really got a clear camera angle of it. And they were two cars that were right on the pace, it seemed.
Yeah, we had a really good first stint. I was really up for it, as always. I mean, yeah, good old Snowy. I got the old pit ball out of the first couple of laps, and we had a good old scrap. Fair play to everyone on circuit, though. This was probably some of the maddest traffic I've ever had, especially that bit. There's a shot where we're all going through the carousel. We all come out the carousel, and there's about 20 GT3 cars all in a line, and everyone threads the needle, GT3 cars wise, as well as the other classes wise. So, and that whole stint, there was no Code 60 for me, which was insane. So, hats off to all of the starting drivers, at least, anyway. So it was balls to the wall. I hope I'm allowed to say that, but it was all very well done.
Remind me where you started in that grid, and how far did you get through top qualifying?
P10, we pre-qualified, so from our NLS3 qualifying pace.
So you were already in top qualifying 3 before the week began?
Correct. So we had no stress going into it. We just focused on race pace. We're sharing with Niri Fukuzumi and Nori Gamo as well, both Super GT drivers, professional drivers over in Japan, but quite new to this place. Gamo-san is a class winner back in 2013, I think it is. So he's slightly newer, but we could focus on giving those guys the track time. They had their first wet laps in that Q2 session when it absolutely chucked it down. So we did say that it's only going to get better than this, we promise. It doesn't get much worse than that. But no, they did a good job, and it was a shame not to give them more running over the race.
You know, when you have pre-qualified like that, does that compromise the running that you do in the weekend in any way, or do you feel like you did all the miles that were necessary, particularly with those lesser experienced drivers?
I mean, there's always the last little detail you need to nail for the week track conditions, effectively. So by not doing Q1, by not doing Q2, top Q1, top Q2.
You didn't go out in top Q1.
No.
So you were able to.
We were able to, yeah, but there was. We were only negatives for us to do that, so we didn't bother. But maybe you lose that last percentage of detail that you need to really nail top quality. But I mean, it's all for the glory, all for the ego, isn't it, at the end of the day? As long as we knew the worst we were going to start was P12, and that would enable us to go with the front group, which was all part of the plan. It was going quite well up until, it didn't.
You said, David, that enabled you guys to focus on race setup.
Yes.
All right, we knew it was going to be cold and wet throughout this week, but just how different is the race setup? But I mean, on a technical level, camber, caster, all of that sort of thing, in comparison to, say, coming into this event when it's a hot summer. Is there a massive difference with camber settings and tow? I'm a geek. I need to know this sort of stuff.
If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Of course.
No,
now that you sat here, you can tell us, because it's we're not coming back until next year.
No. I mean, I'm a motorsport engineer as well, so I'm definitely fascinated in all those details. And it's how you sort of manage, I think, tyre temperatures. Like at the end of the day, you're just trying to optimise tyre temperatures for the given track conditions. So when we were here in the quali race, it was kind of similar conditions, really, overcast, a little bit cool, and then NLS3 beforehand was actually quite warm, quite sunny. at the end of the day, you are varying those levels of camber to optimize the tyre. Potentially, on the colder days, you would put more camber on to then really work those inner edges, so the inner edges of the tyre are warmer for longer.
Right.
And then on the warmer days, maybe you need to spread that load over the tyre for a little bit longer, so you're flattening the tyre effectively to spread the load. So that would be a very simple explanation.
Yeah, well, it was adequate as well. And the other thing is, you guys didn't have to. You knew that you were through qualifying, so you didn't have to optimise a setup that would optimise a lap, if there is such a thing as an optimised lap around the Norwich line. So how different is the setup with regards to if you were having to qualify instead of already being there? Would the setup have been massively different, canvas casters, etc.?
I mean, a pointy car is generally a fast car. There is a trade-off to that, and obviously a trade-off at a Grand Prix circuit versus here at the Nordschleife first. So, you could definitely get away with a slightly pointier car, slightly more aggressively set up, stiffer, that will extract all of the grip from that tyre, but it may not last the whole race. Every car works its tyre differently. So, for example, coming from the Aston Martin, we'd always start the stint with a oversteer balance, because we knew that the rears would then fade to then become we start with understeer balance because the rears would fade to then become an oversteer balance, and you want to minimise the oversteer, especially around here, effectively. Whereas the Merc, you lose the fronts more, so then you have to like switch. You can prioritise the tyre when it comes in for 2 laps in top quali, or you can prioritise it for 8 laps where it's a consistent, drivable, comfortable. Because we've seen even just in the last few minutes, like, you're doing some very funny things at some very odd parts of the circuit to avoid something that's happening in front of you, of which you don't want the car on a knife edge, because then it might spit you off.
That first 6 hours of this race is possibly the most nuts first 6 hours of any motor race I've ever witnessed. How difficult was it out there with regards to, you get into a rhythm, don't you? You get into the rhythm of the lap, you get into the rhythm of dealing with the traffic. But then when that rhythm is constantly truncated, surely the drivers out there were saying, not another one, not another one, and not another one, because we were literally code 60 after code 60, incident after incident. How difficult is it to refocus?
I think you never... So we talk like in sports psychology about being in flow state, being in the zone. And I think actually for us racing drivers, we have it reasonably easy because you're constantly attentive. There's a very rare occasion in which you are in conscious thought, effectively.
You mean you didn't notice the sundown, the beautiful sunset that we had? I don't know if you were in the car for that time. You don't notice any of that?
No, not really. Yeah. I mean, no, because you're in a bit of a tunnel vision, really, in those points. So, and I think even in a code 60, you're still optimising everything. So, like, how close am I on the limiters? Can I shortcut this corner? How many laps left to the stint? If there's less stint, if you're on your in-lap, you shortcut everywhere. You don't matter if there's loads of pickup on the tyre, but you know you could gain like half a second in those zones. You're constantly watching for the flags, because even though a lot of us have driven here for 10 plus years, there will still be a point where we'll just miss a flag signal. I think it was Neil Van Hagen in the touring one time. He stayed on the limiter, Max saw it, and he lost a position as a result of it. And I think you're on tender hooks the whole time, because you can't give up anything at any time, so you're constantly in flow state as a result of it.
Max Verstappen did get out of the number 3 car, by the way. It took a little while for the timing to catch up.
Right, okay.
We expected a driver change after a double for the Dutchman, and indeed that's what happened. So Danny Juncadei has now got back into the number 3 Verstappen Racing Mercedes AMG. Danny started the race, remember. Mauro Engels stayed on board for a double stint, so they're alternating their drive. Well, one car gets a driver change, the other one doesn't, in one pit stop, and then those roles are reversed 8 laps later. But they came in bang on time, 130 laps completed, so they'll be back in on 138. And thanks to a number of you on the collective who've put me right on that. Also from Davey Ovema, who is working for Lion Speed GP this week. He's just managed to get information on the attendance here this weekend. And Davey reckons 352,000 people. Now that might well be.
Is that across the weekend, Johnny?
Well, that's how the attendance
since
works.
Thursday.
So yes, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, since Tuesday, but the meeting officially started, of course, on Thursday. But yes,
Campsites were open Sunday evening, I think, wasn't it? Monday morning.
So for a full week's worth of camping too. And I suppose as soon as you're on site and into a campsite, then you are classified as an attendee. And that's then recorded for the 4 days of the meeting. 352,000 people. What I don't know is whether that's a record, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it is a record, because of the Max Verstappen draw. 280,000, I'm being told, is the former previous best. So that's been beaten by 70,000 people. Driving around, you just said you're in the zone, so you're not really noticing, but can you see the crowds being busier than normal? And more about probably trying to get from point A to point B in the week before it. Has that been more difficult for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I had to go and shake the car down Monday morning, and I live in Adenau now, so there was gridlock traffic in both directions on Adenau High Street at 7:30 Monday morning.
Was there really?
Yeah, camper vans, trailers. I know the German word. Well, thank you. Motorhomes.
What was the German word?
Wohnmobil.
You've been here too long, haven't you?
I have. And yeah.
You remember you are English, aren't you, David Pittard?
Yeah, just about.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no, the 130.
130 Lamborghini is stopped at, is that the exit of Galgenkopf?
Yes.
Onto the Dottinger Hoor.
Good eyes.
It's years of doing NLS races in various weather conditions as well. So it has crawled out of the long right-hander, which is so crucial to a good lap time, to head on to the Dottinger Hoor. An absolute dejection down at Red Bull Team Apt. What do we need to do?
Dejection.
Yeah, I inadvertently dropped in a mega pun there. The race didn't start well with a jump start for Marco Mappelli, and that has just fallen apart now. The Lambos have had such a quick car down the straights, it seemed. I was concerned that they might have trimmed them out a bit too much, because they got an extra 5 kilos of ballast in the final ballast of performance check.